This is a long one, but I want to explain what I experienced in as much detail as I possibly can. I went on a trip alone the other day, by car. Despite having very little money to my name, I really felt like going away for a little while. I'm quite accustomed to doing these sorts of things on a tight budget, such as staying at a roadside station or a capsule hotel, or just hanging out using a 24-hour hot spring facility. I'm used to that kind of thing. So, it was late at night, on I guess the 4th day of this trip. This road I'm driving, it's undulating on the slope of the mountain. It's narrow. There are no streetlights or mirrors. I don't have any other cars around me at this time. It's just a quiet, barely used mountain road in the countryside. Coming around a curve, on the roadside, lit by the headlights, I noticed something. A pair of shoes, sitting in the middle of the road. It's by no means uncommon while driving, seeing discarded or lost items sitting forgotten by the road. But on a barely used, terrible road up in the mountains, this was certainly not normal. But despite the fact that many scenarios one might imagine here are not of a pleasant nature, it's not as though I can really do anything. So I continue driving. Suddenly, I see a shadow at the end of the light again. I thought it was perhaps a deer or something, but when I start to apply the brakes to slow down for this, I see it. A person is standing in the middle of the left lane. A normal person, a normal face, normal clothes. What on earth is she doing in a place like this? I cannot imagine why somebody would be out here, standing on the road like this, high up here in the mountains. Perhaps there has been an accident or a breakdown. I can't ignore this, I decide. I parked my car and I prepared to get out to help. That woman, I can see now, she is not wearing any shoes. I am suddenly reminded of the shoes I saw earlier. I get a creeping feeling that this is not an entirely safe situation that I'm in. I decided that I should probably call the police about what I've seen here. When I reach for my cell phone, all of a sudden, that woman came running towards the car. What the hell is she doing? Suddenly, a bang, and she is right there in front of my face, staring in. I'm stunned at this time. And then, the banging continues. Without breaking her gaze on me, she rhythmically lifts her right hand, bashing on the hood of my car. Bang, bang, bang. I don't understand why this is happening. What is she doing? What does she want? Bang, bang, bang. I had no idea what to do at this time, and so I just reached over and locked all the doors in the car. It's obviously not a normal situation, but it's not like I can just step on the accelerator. Despite the way she's acting, it's still a human being. Even if I were to back the car up, she's so close she might fall off and badly hurt herself. Could I get out of the car and pull her off myself? No, no way. After a while of this, she finally stops. Still looking straight at me, her stare never wavering. She slides off the car and slowly walks around to the driver's side door. Staring in at me now, with a slight smile on her face, she begins to try to open the door. Click, click. Click, click. Is it locked? Yes, I remember. I locked it. This was most certainly a dangerous situation now, so I pulled out my cell phone to call the police. Maybe she saw this, or perhaps, just by coincidence, she suddenly left the door. What she did next was just bizarre. She began moving, fast, into the forest. What on earth is she doing? I do not want to wait to find out though. I have had enough, and I began to drive away from that place. But then I noticed her again, in my rearview mirrors. She is emerging, once again from the forest, carrying this huge stone, large enough that she needed to hold it in both hands. Despite it obviously being so heavy, she is moving at a fast speed, practically running towards my car as she wobbles side to side with the weight of that huge stone. But the most unsettling part was that wide smile still on her face. I would have felt better had she come running after me with a crazed look on her face, but this was much worse. I do not hesitate anymore. I have no question about this woman's intentions. She is not in need of my help. I don't even know whether or not she is human. I hurriedly stepped on the accelerator, and I drive away from that place, away from that woman, away from that thing. In the rear view, barely visible now, as I cruised away down that road, I saw her throwing that huge stone as hard as she could. I drive away from that road as fast as I can. I don't want to be alone anymore. I wanted to get to where there are other people. I thought about going to the police, but why? What would be the point? And I would have to drive back the way I came. There was no way I was going to be doing that. A little way up the road, another hairpin curve around the mountainside. And there she is again, right there in the headlights, standing on the center line of the direction of travel. I do not slow this time. In fact, I speed up. I was genuinely worried that she might jump in. So I overtook her from the right diagonal line. I do not feel relieved at this point, however. I'm well aware there is no possible way a woman could have run 2 kilometers down the road to get in front of my car, across rigorous mountain terrain, through thick forest. This is not a normal experience that I have found myself in the midst of. Another curve in the road, and I knew it long before I saw it. Yeah, there it is again. That woman. This time, at the end of a small tunnel. She is standing, blocking the curve at the end of the exit. This time, I begin to wonder if this is even real, or am I dreaming? However, I know that I cannot stop here again. I'm very worried that it will again jump out at me. I was slowing down slightly, trying to gauge the distance and cut around her into the other lane. I can see her grinning, looking at me the whole time I was approaching her. Suddenly, I stepped on the brake, reflexively, just before I swerved. I did not know in that split second why I did that, but I would realize seconds after. There was a truck in the opposite side of the road, coming roaring past. Had I swerved as I intended to, I would be dead. No question. As my headlights illuminated the road ahead, I saw that woman once again scurrying off into the forest. Fortunately, I never saw her again. I did go to the police box later on, but since there was no damage to the car, or to me, he just listened to what I had to say. There was nothing else that could be done. He said it was likely a drifter or a drunk, but I know this to be false. I know the truth to be far worse. This story took place over a dozen years ago, involving me and my brother. It took place in my hometown. This is a true story, as difficult as that may be to believe. It's okay. I do not need you to believe me. I merely wish to write this down, get it off my chest, so to speak. It all happened when I was in the 3rd grade of elementary school. My brother and 3 of his friends invited me to go with them on one of their adventures, and despite warnings from the adults in our town to stay away, I decided to secretly join them. The location they were venturing to was an abandoned shrine on a slope extending from the town's hill, adorned with numerous torii gates. Honestly, it was a very creepy atmosphere. Hesitant at first, I was strangely compelled to go along. The day of the adventure came along. My brother and I waited at the shrine at noon for his friends. A man in his mid-20s happened along. He had recently come to town for work. He warned us sternly to stay away from this place. Ignoring his advice, my brother and his friends continued on with their plan. As we walked up the slope, I felt it in my bones as the atmosphere began to change. The air felt different. A fear began to creep in. A new kind of fear. Something I had never felt before. My brother felt it too. He began urging his friends to turn back. I guess we all felt it, as we all agreed without hesitation. As we turned to go back down, however, a group of kids appeared, blocking our path with half-white, expressionless faces. It was so strange. They were not there as we ascended. We had heard no footsteps, nor rustling sounds. Nothing. And there was really nowhere for them to hide. We began to panic, running in different directions. As we ran, the children started jumping. A couple of them clung to my brother. I too felt an unexplained heaviness in my lower body, and as I gazed down, I saw an old woman with white eyes and her teeth baring, clinging to my waist. I was rightfully terrified. I didn't know what to do. I had nowhere to go, so I just closed my eyes. I tried hard to pretend I was somewhere else, anywhere else. But the old woman whispered, "Come here, come here, come here," as if directly into my mind. Despite being ready to face death, an overwhelming fear compelled me to open my eyes. The old woman's face was there, mere inches away. I screamed, wondering why no one in the surrounding houses seemed to notice. I shot glances all around, anywhere, everywhere, looking for any semblance of hope. To my disbelief, and my utter relief, the man I had met earlier appeared, and with the aid of several adults, they were shouting, and as they did, these evil things seemed to retreat. My brother was safe, but some of his friends were found in a terrible state. They were beaten horribly, to the point they needed to be hospitalized. Later on, I learned that that shrine, once ordinary, housed a Shinto priest with significant power. As the priest struggled with the growing number of spirits seeking help, he eventually fled, leaving the shrine in an unclean state, a haven for malevolent entities. The following is a scary experience which happened to me a very long time ago. I think when I was only about 5 or maybe 6 years old. At that time, myself and my parents were living in an apartment. On that day, I remember I had gone to my grandfather's house to play. I recall coming back around 9 o'clock at night. So, I came back from my grandpa's house, and I was reading a picture book by myself for a while. But my mother came into me and said, "It's already 10 o'clock, and tomorrow is kindergarten, so go to bed." I begin getting ready for bed, but my mother yells at me again, "Go to the bathroom and brush your teeth before going to bed." Okay, got it. I toddled off to the bathroom, brushed my teeth, and that was that. Okay, ready for bed. When I came out of the bathroom, however, somehow, the lights are turned off in the washroom and the living room. My father has always been a bit of a prankster, and he would often do this to me. It was dark, scary, so I tried to make my way back to my room, little by little. After a few steps into the darkness, however, I do not feel right. I see something dark. There are no lights on in this apartment. It should be so dark that I cannot see anything. But I can see something dark approaching me. Knowing my father, of course, my first instinct was to assume that it was him playing a trick on me. So I call out, "Dad, what are you doing?" I called out very loud, so I know that he must have heard me. But I did not receive any reply. As this dark figure begins getting closer to me, I notice there is another right beside it. "Mum?" I call out. But again, there is no reply at all. The two of them were getting closer, little by little. My eyes should have adjusted to the darkness at this point. But no, still these two look only pitch black. That's when I noticed it. These two, they are awfully big. I mean, big enough that their heads are almost touching the ceiling. It was more than 2 meters to the ceiling. Slowly, they continue to shuffle closer and closer to me. I hate it. I begin to take slow steps backwards, as at this point, I am all but certain that these are not my parents. And that's when I noticed their faces. It's very difficult to describe. One of them had a sharp head, almost pointed. If you could imagine the triangle head of Silent Hill, maybe you'll have some idea. The other figure, its head is very round, and it's huge. And both of these things, they didn't have faces. Maybe I just couldn't see it because it was pitch black. But I could swear, the face is just a blank slate. So, these two, they continue to approach me until they are standing right in front of me. I begin to reach out to my side, behind me, looking for anything. I don't know why. I guess it's just my instincts taking over. That pointed head figure began to lurch forward now, bringing that awful head closer and closer to me. I pressed my back against the wall, trying desperately to move further away from this awful thing. And then, the inevitable moment finally came. That strange head touched my own. In that single moment, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that what I had just come into contact with was something purely, absolutely evil. I ran away, pushing past between these two awful things and running around our little apartment screaming, crying for my parents. I ran so fast to my parents' room. The bedroom door was closed, but when I opened the door, the lights are now all turned on, just like they normally would be. And my parents are looking at me. My father was grinning at me. "Were you afraid of the dark, son?" I was too hysterical to answer that properly. The sharp head, the pointed head, it touched me. And the round head, the big head. My cries came out in disjointed and nonsensical ramblings, but I was a scared kid. I had just seen something not of this earth. Something that never should be seen on this side of the earth. Something I knew undoubtedly had terrible, malicious intentions. And for all I knew, they were still inside with us. I tried to talk to my parents, but I could not get my words out. I tried to pull on my parents' hands and show them. I pleaded with them, "Please, just come and look." My parents turned on the light. "Look, there's nothing," my father assured me. I tried to calm down, but I couldn't. I ran around that entire apartment, looking everywhere for where these things might have gone. There was nothing. No black figures. Nothing hidden behind curtains or underneath beds or lurking inside closets. I continued to plead my case. I assured my parents I really had seen them. But the longer I stood there, the more I began to even doubt my own words. So that's my story. I'm sorry there's no follow-up. No sinister twist. No 1,000 years of curses to follow. Life went on as normal. Boring. Mundane. But I was absolutely scared to death that night. And I learned a terrible truth. That the evils of this world will indeed not lurk in closets or underneath beds, but rather in plain sight, right there in front of you, just waiting for the moment that somebody will turn out the lights. In the heart of the mountains near to where I live, there is a huge pond, or maybe more of a lake. There are these fences and warnings all around the place, warning people to keep their distance from the water. I, a foolish young man, was not bothered by such warnings. As I stood on the edge, engaged in a spot of fishing, an unexplained restlessness stirred within my feet. Glancing down, I discovered a tiny spider delicately weaving a thread around my toes, prompting me to step back. Undeterred, I continued my angling, dismissing the occurrence. Yet, that persistent itch returned, and upon inspection, I noticed a slightly larger spider than before, now intricately spinning a thread around my finger. Frustrated, I redirected the thread to a nearby broken tree branch, laying idly by the side of the lake, and I resumed my fishing. Time passed, and when I glanced back at the tree branch, I was met with an alarming sight. Countless spiders had emerged from the edges, covering the branch in a web that soon turned it a ghostly white. Feeling a sense of dread, I decided to step away from the edge. From the depths of that lake, a distant voice echoed, urging,
"Pull it! Pull it!"
The spiders, having completed their enigmatic task, began to retreat. Unnerved, yet oddly fascinated, I watched as the branch, now engulfed in webbing, was forcefully yanked into the depths with enormous force. As it disappeared into the deep, dark waters, I swear, even for a moment, I saw a horrible face beneath the ripples. I abandoned my fishing gear and fled from that lake, vowing never to approach that place again. This is a story about when my good friends got together and went to the beach in the summer. At first, I was having fun on the beach, but one of my friends suddenly said to us, "Hey, let's jump down from there," pointing to a small cliff. It's a good place to jump in and play. It's not very high, but when I was little, I never had the courage to jump in. We had come to the sea for the first time in a long time, and we were all excited, and immediately started running to the cliff. One of my friends had brought a camera with him on this day, so we all took an interesting pose to make memories, took a picture of the moment of jumping in, and we played for a while. After a little while, "Huh? Noriko, where did you go?" one person said. "We can't find Noriko anywhere we look." We all searched around the beach, but we could not find him. So, we talked to the watchman's older brother, and we looked for him together. But still, we couldn't find him. Everyone was thinking about the worst. Maybe in the sea. Eventually, the sun went down, and everyone went home with the assurance of the watchman who told us, "I'll continue the search as best I can." It was about a week later that Noriko was found. Unfortunately, I had a bad feeling that this would be the outcome. Noriko seemed to have drowned in the sea. We were all upset, of course, but we thought at least we can maybe give Noriko's family a picture of him having fun in the sea. His last memory, a happy one. However, the owner of the camera, Yutaka, is not very enthusiastic. When I questioned him, he said that something is strange with that picture. We were shocked by his attitude, and we didn't want to talk to him much. So eventually, he tells us, just come and see the picture for yourself. In the picture, there was everyone who seemed to be having fun. And of course, Noriko. What's the problem? It's a good picture. He replies to me, watch until the end. The last picture that came out was one of the moment when Noriko had jumped into the sea in a playful pose. Behind him, many white hands, extending from the sea, were clearly reflected